how I got my PhD at 30, my journey towards self-realization. Yeah, so they've already done the introduction. I was born on the 27th of May, 1989, in the town of Papua, in the River State. I came from a middle-class family. When I mean middle-class, my parents were not rich, and they later moved to Ahoda. So I had a very humble beginning. My dad was a civil servant, and my mom engaged in petty trade, and she would later become a primary school teacher. She's now a secondary. And so I was enrolled into school, and when it was time for me to go into the university, my dad wanted me to read sciences because he was good in physics, chemistry, math. But I wasn't a math person. And so my dad will beat me, he will flog me, cane me. The math wasn't entering, no matter what he did. So it continued right from primary school, secondary school, so he was very disappointed. But along the line, I realized that I was good in the arts. I loved government, I loved history, literature in English. And so my mom told me, why are you beating this boy? He's good in the arts, allow him. He was disappointed, but he had to give him. And after that, we had peace. And then I moved on. To the University of PortHarcourt. I did a 1-year diploma, and it gave me a certificate in theater arts. After that, I now moved over to the degree program. And as a student, somehow I just knew that I never had so many options, and I just had to embrace my books. Now, it's unfortunate why a lot of us, especially students of this generation, we have people that beg us to read. They try to talk to you to have an idea of where you're going to think of your dream, but I never had that opportunity. But somehow, my books were just my number one priority in school. I never had a girlfriend, didn't attend parties. They said I was a bookworm, but I still doubt if I'm a bookworm. But I just knew, I just wanted to make good grades. I never even dreamed that I was going to come out of the first class. Never. That was like 2 weeks. I never thought of it, but I was always praying to God. God, I don't want to make a C. I don't want to make a C. And so I would read. I would even read in the toilet. Yeah, it was like that. And it continued. And my year 1, second semester, the results were out, and I had 4.22 CGPA. I was on the team's list. I was like, wow. In my year 2, I moved on. Can we go on to the next slide? My year 2, I had a 4.33 CGPA. Year 3, 4.44, and in my final year it was 4.52. And in my undergraduate, I did something. As a year 1, year 2 student, I intentionally made friends. I didn't just make friends with any person. And so I would locate the best students in the 3rd year or the final year, and I would approach them and ask them if I could be their friends, and they would accept. And when the semester is over, I'll get their notes, photocopy, read, ask questions. And so so that kind of like helped me. And when the semester started, I already knew what we were doing, and I wasn't going to have any challenges. And can you go back to the previous slide? The lady there, her name is Miss Elizabeth Carlo. She's now married. So she was a year ahead of me, and she was one of the friends I made while as an undergraduate student. I still have some of her notes there with me, and we still talk. Yeah, so can we go to the next slide? And so, in my final year, something happened. But prior to this, I would say that while as an undergraduate student, I was committed in church. I was a keyboardist in Redemption Ministry Church in Ahoda. And so every week, I'll travel twice to Ahoda and back, to Ahoda and back. I'll go there to manage the choir and come back. And so I was doing this and I was doing this. And in my final year, when the results were released, my staff advisor, now Professor Kramer, called me and he said, Tekena, the results are out. I'm sorry you didn't make the first class. I was disappointed because as a student, I already knew I was graduating. I already calculated my CGPA, so I already knew I was going to come out in the first class. But somehow, it was not what I anticipated. I was disappointed, so I called my mom and told her. She said, okay, don't worry. And then I told God, I said, God, is this what I'm going to get for the commitment I've made every week? Is this how it's going to be? Well, if this is it, then it's fine. I just left it and I moved on. I was trying to do my plans and prepare to move, see how I can go for service. And 2 weeks after the results had been released, my staff advisor called me again and said, Tekena, the university has issued a memorandum that the results should be withdrawn. All the results and recalculated again. I didn't know what was the reason for that, but I just held my peace. And after the recalculation, I came out with a first class. Yeah. I came out with the first class, thank God, and I had to move on. Went for my service, and after service, I had 2 offers. One was a bank job, Fidelity Bank, where I served, and as at that time, the university had this policy that if you graduate with the first class, they will retain you. And while I already served in the bank, and there was no fulfillment there, I didn't find fulfillment, so I just left the bank job and came. And that was how my journey in the academia started. I started my work here in 2012, University of PortHarcourt, and also enrolled for my master's. And so I was juggling between studying, and also doing my job as a lecturer. But because of my master's program, I lost my dad, and I immediately stepped into the role of a father. So I had siblings, we were 5, so I had siblings that were not all were still in school. And so I had to also juggle all that up, handle all that. But God helped me. I finished the master's program in 2015. There were a lot of challenges. You know, when we talk about stories like this, sometimes most of us, we tend to focus on the successes, the success stories, but there are failures. There were moments I cried, there were moments there was no fees. I was running around to get fees and it was crazy. But God saw me through. And after I finished the master's program that same year, around August, I picked up the PhD form and started. The PhD was like one of the biggest battles of my life. Why? Because we were in academia, and if you're in the academia, especially when you're doing a program in a place where they taught you, and so your superiors are watching you, this small boy wants to get a PhD, this small boy. And so they will do all it takes to stop him. But it wasn't them stopping me, it was them challenging me, cooking me to become better. And I was happy that I had to go through all that challenge because it made me better and better. And today, they're proud of me. They're proud of me. So I enrolled in the PhD program. Fortunately, I was a course rep. and so I had to look out for my colleagues. So I was a course during my master's program and continued to the PhD program. So that was like for about 7 years, and I was the smallest. So imagine you're a small boy, you have to look out for people that are actually your senior, they're like your mothers and everything. But I'm happy because it also prepared me. And so the plan was for me to finish my PhD at 30, but there were a lot of challenges that actually tried to stop that plan from coming true. But we thank God, in spite of the fact that I had supervisors that were very strong to deal with, plus the huge financial implication that comes with you have to travel, the mental work, you have to be on the road. My field work was actually in Lagos, so I had to travel to Lagos, record, come back, conduct interviews. And on the 30th of November 2019, I defended my thesis. And it was like a big dream come true. And it was more like a huge burden had left me. But I also realized that after my PhD, you can move on to the post-PhD experience now. So after I now realized that in the academia, your PhD is actually the beginning of scholarship. Yeah, the PhD. And so when they give you a PhD, you're not just awarded a PhD to carry the name. You have to defend it. You have to prove yourself in that area. And it became a challenge, but I had to stand up to it. And so I published my book, my first book, in 2016. It's Direct Ideas on Directing Experimental Theater. And that was when I also started writing. You have to write. If you're in the academia, you have to write. You don't have a choice. You're just going to fade away. So you have to keep writing. So I had to write, publish articles in local and international journals. And I was also writing plays, writing poems. And so I actually have an anthology of about 115 poems. It's not yet published, but I'm just working on it. I hope to hit 150. Yeah, and I know it will happen soon. And so on the 23rd of May 2020, I published my second book. That's a guide to theater directing. And so it took me about 2 years to actually, so while I was doing my PhD, I was also writing this book. And a colleague of mine, I just talked to her, she was my PhD colleague, and I said, I'm looking for somebody, because my colleagues here wouldn't want to go through and edit this book or write it forward. They would, because I had approached some, and they were like, no. But this is my child, and I needed to guide it. And so I approached her, and she said, she had somebody, a godfather while she was in our undergraduate days. And so she introduced me to Professor Sam Okala. He's now late. He died a few months this year, just died. And this man helped me edit this book word to word. I think before the book was finally published, I think I had about 3 major drafts of corrections, word to word. And at the end of the day, it was published. And I'm happy because my meeting with him exposed me to another phase of scholarship. And can you move on to the next slide? So, because there's something about someone talked about collaboration, networking, and that's the beauty. Oh, okay, sorry. Yes. So, someone talked about collaboration, networking, and that's the beauty about success. If you're the only one standing, someone said if you're in a family and you're the only one successful, the other person will bring you down. And so, if you're a successful person in your family, the only lies in you to help other persons become successful. And there's a saying that says we rise by. And there's another one that said I had to stand on the shoulders of. So that was what happened. I learned a lot from my my interface with the late Professor Sam Okala, and it prepared me. But beyond that, so we're looking at my post-PhD experience. Sometime last year, I published an article in the UK. Now, if you're in academia, one of the toughest places to get published is in the UK. And when I mean UK, I mean not just any journal, I mean reputable journals. And so I reached out to an editor of a journal I had published because the guy was good. Very young guy, Professor Philip, young, simple but smart and bad. So I wrote to him and I said, I would like to learn from you. I want us to collaborate, and there's a lot there's a lot I see in you that I can learn from. Would you mind if we could author an article? And he was like, wow, that's fine. So I sent him a draft of the article, and he went through it. And this process will repeat itself on and on. And at the end of the day, last month, I got my first article published in Routledge in the UK. Now, getting published in Routledge was a big dream for me. Yeah, because they are not just any publishers. When you send your work to Routledge, your work gets to undergo the peer review of scholars in the world, professionals that are good. And if your work scales through, it means you're good, and it means that you're not just a local champion. It means that you're a world champion. And I was excited about that. And so moving over, what's next? You have a PhD, you're teaching, what's next? Like I said, knowledge doesn't end. The dream for me is to build a career abroad. And what have I done? I've been applying to fellowships, employment opportunities. I've been applying, and most of these fellowships are highly competitive. And for you to apply, you have to be very prepared. Because imagine when you're applying and you're like, everybody in the world is also applying. So it means you have to be good. And so that's what I've been doing. Next slide. And so, final remark. I'd like to say that knowledge has a spiritual dimension. Knowledge has a spiritual dimension. And that's what a lot of persons don't actually know. While I was learning the keyboard, the guy that taught me said, Tekena, until you start playing in the dream, you've not started. And I kept wondering, how? Then I saw myself playing in the dream. And people would look and say, wow, you're good. Now I understood. So it has gone beyond just doing it. It has become what? Spiritual. Are we together? Alright. And so I'm a Christian, and I've always believed that nobody in this life can achieve any great thing without a backing, a spiritual backing. It might be from the devil or it might be from God. We have a lot of stars today. Some of them are famous, but they are not just famous, there's a force behind them. Are we together? So it's either the force behind it is from God or it's from the devil. But no mortal man can achieve any great feat without a spiritual backing.